So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live show recorded for Ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'll be having a play with my Derwent watercolour pencils, which I've had for such a long time. And so I decided that I was going to sharpen them. I'm just going to have to play with the just bear with me 2 seconds. I don't know why I've got two. Don't know why. It's alright. Don't know what's happening there. Right, that should be better. I'll just leave that on for a little while. So when I do this, we should autofocus. And you can see, now you can see on a lot of them, the strips has not been touched. The strip is the middle bit of the colour. Now mine pencils are at least 20 years old. And so some of them, not all of them, but just some of them, and bearing in mind they haven't always been in this, they've been kicking about in a pencil case, so they've not been really looked after. I've never had one break yet, apart from one. When I was sharpening it. But if you can see this one that I've just done here, the wood has almost come apart. Now this one hasn't split, and some of them have, but the strip is perfectly okay and the pencil is okay, so they do last a long time. And I haven't hardly used them, so if you were using them you would run out of pencil before you get to this age. You know, if they last you 20 years, it's 20, it's money well spent. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was trying to work out. So this little pile here is, I wanted to show how much colour I've wasted, and it's very little. It's just all wood. And I did take a photograph, if I've got my phone. I was looking at a vintage set of these, and on the tin lid, I think it was on the tin lid, there was this, the complete range of Derwent colour pencil shades is as follow. So this is even before these these are from the 70s, maybe even earlier. I can't remember the exact date. Very old. Oh, a lot older than mine. Probably twice as old as mine. But at the bottom of this, and the same colour, zinc yellow, lemon cadmium, number 3 is gold, number 4 is primrose. So same colour scheme, but at the bottom of that is some information, and it says, when resharpening these pencils we recommend the use of a sharp penknife or razor blade in a suitable holder. Pocket or rotary sharpeners should not be used. Now I know sharpeners have come a long way since then, but I still stand by this, because if I'd have sharpened and this is the only one that's actually split. There's a tiny pit here. You can see that's the original split where the two pieces of wood have been clamped over the colour. If I'd have sharpened this with a pencil sharpener, any twisting, rotoring, whatever they call it, I would have twisted this colour away from the wood and something would have given. But because I took the wood off, I'm left with this lovely strip of colour, which is very firm. It's going to do exactly what I want it to do. Admittedly, I've had taken more off. I don't normally take as much, but it's because it was brittle. The wood is old and it's brittle. And again, these have been kicking about a pencil case. So they've been all over the world. And I hadn't looked after them as much as I know now to treasure them. But still, this is the age you can get them. And the strip of wood, although it's old, it's looked after that strip of colour. That wood has protected it. That's what it was supposed to do. And if you can see how long ago it is since I've actually sharpened any, I've left one. Now there's been one or two that I have sharpened, but most of them weren't. This is in its original state. And so the wood is a little bit darker. So Derwent have brought out a sharpening guard, and that means that if you're frightened of cutting yourself, you won't. Now I normally do it like this, and again I force it with this thumb. Everything else is tucked behind the blade. And then you turn it and you do a bit more, and you turn it and you do a bit more. But if you're concerned about this action, you can put this, which is a rubber coating, and it's called a sharpening guard, and you put the pencil on it. And these, because these are old, these are hexagonal, or they've kind of ridged. They're not round. So what you can do if it's round is just keep turning it. You put it in its little cage and you slide the blade to the guard. And that means that it's always protected. And you want kind of really slithers. It's shavings of wood. That's what you want. You're not digging in. If you dig in and go, you'll damage the end of the... I don't want to move any of that colour at all. Now my hands don't work very well. So I keep doing this and turning it, and that means when I get near the strip of colour, I turn it. And then I turn it again. And eventually I'll see some colour more than at the other side. Let me see if it will. So then I can turn that, and then I can take the slither off very carefully. And that's going to leave me a strip of colour that's completely been left alone by the blade. All I'm doing is shaving off slithers of wood. Now it's not going to give me a point, but I don't really need a point. Two reasons. One is this is a watercolour pencil. If you can see there, this particular one, let me just see if it'll focus. If you can see, there's a tiny bit like this, so that goes on the guard, and then I very carefully slide down until it'll just slide off. But if you look now, there's a bit of a point here, Focus. There's about 4 sharp edges on there, so I don't need a point. I can get a really fine line if I want. So I just thought you'd like to see, and this wood here is what was taken. Always remember to put your blade back on its soft eraser, because that's what will protect it and protect your hands. So all my 72 pencils, I've probably sharpened about 65. There's about maybe 5 or 6 or 7 that weren't sharpened, but the majority of these I've sharpened, and I've ended up with just this wood. There's the tiniest bit of colour, but not very much, and as a tight Yorkshire lass I kind of like that. So what I've been doing is sharpening those, so they're going to be like that now for quite a long time. And bear with me 2 seconds while I just go put this straight in the bin, because I don't want it in my nice bin. So all my pencils are now ready and sharpened, and because I forget things, I bought 2 of these. I bought 2 of these, so I'm going to keep one with the watercolor, the bag I have with my Inktense, my watercolors, and my Graphitint, and then I'm going to keep the other sharpening guard in the other pencil case with the pastels. But it doesn't matter what pencil, even if some of my old wooden ones, they're all sharpened with a blade, never a pen. And I have hundreds of pencil case sharpeners, but I would never use one for those. Little boys under the stairs. Sorry about that. So it does say originally not to use them. Now, as I say, I know pencil sharpeners have come a long way, but if you want to guarantee your pencils are going to last as long as you, don't use. And all you're doing is, if it breaks, you're just going to keep going, and you're using the strip. If this breaks, I'm not wasting any colour. This is the important bit. This has done its job. This is the colour. This is what you pay for. We do not want to throw this down the drain. Now, I do keep mine in colour order, and I do have them, try to have them the right way round, so I know I can look instantly at a number. So there's 70, there's 71. Now I do keep, and 36. Oh wait a minute, 36. 67 is ivory black, and so I kind of like the black. So I've just rearranged. The black one is at the top of this one, so that's the only one that's out of sync. And then the first one, which is number 72, if it will focus, is the white. So I've got white to very pale yellow, instead of having the black and the white at the back. And so I've got the black at the end of one and the white at the end of the other. So the way I have mine is I have white, pale yellow, dark yellow, orange, red, pink, purple, purpley blues, pale blues, turquoisey blues, greens, dark greens, olive greens, browns, fawns, and greys and black. So I just need to put these back, because I had these out, 36, because they weren't sharpened, and 37. So for their age, they're doing extremely well. So I was having a play in this book here. This is the Merian's butterfly colouring book. And I really like these soft colours. And the only other way I thought was the pastels. In the sister book, I've used the pastels, and I put little tags at the top so I know where I'm working. And I really like the pastels because you can match colours up quite well. But I thought in the original David Cook video from the late 80s, early 90s, he actually colour mixes, which is what gave me the idea for my colour book, on sketchbook paper. He scratched the colours on the back of his sketchbook paper, took this away with a brush, and left the pencils in the studio. So I've been doing a little bit of colour mixing because I wanted to get the exact colour. And again, you can do this when you, just bear with me a second, you can do this, I just need to take that off now because otherwise we'll be jumping about. You can do this when you're watching TV. Play with the colours, and decide, how do you make the olive colours? You know, what do you need to get a bright green? What do you get to get a yellowy green, or to get an olive green or a russet red? What changes? What colours do you need to add from a dead boring secondary colour or and tertiary colour? What do you need to add? And then once you've learnt that, you've got a little bit of knowledge that you know to add certain colours until you can colour match. So I've taken an old colour page that I didn't like, and I've kind of made a bit of a concertina with it, and probably I could have done this better. So I'll just put this to one side. So what this has given me a lot of edges, because when you're colour matching, you need to scrape a little bit of colour on to a paper and then line the paper up with what you're colour matching. And when you can't see a difference, you know you've got the exact colour that you want. Now, I should have used a plain piece of paper, but I couldn't find one, but it doesn't matter. Any scrappy paper will do, and remember, recycle if we can, so it's better for the planet, and my daughter will be very proud of me. So I started with this concertina here, and I've got quite a few greens, so you can see, if I open this up, that I've had a bit of a play. And I went paler, and then I went darker, until eventually, if I hadn't found the exact colour, I then needed to know, how do I make it lighter? How do I make it darker? Which ones mix and which ones? So you want it till it completely disappears. You see, that one doesn't mix, but that's for this one. You see, almost disappears, and if you can get it to completely disappear, you know you've got it. Now, I did this a couple of days ago, and I don't normally plan and prepare for a stream, but because I hadn't done this for a long time, then I needed to know if it would work as well. So I've played about, and I'd numbered the pencils I was using, because obviously there's no, if you're using watercolour you can't do that. But the wonderful thing about these pencils is I know I can get these colours back instantly without messing about, and I'm not going to be far away from this particular colour. So I can't remember, even though I've written it down. So I've got number 50, and then I was having a play with how to get the watercolour effect. But remember, this is good quality sketchbook paper. It will take a light wash. This won't. So this has got to be something that it's an experiment. When you work with pastel, you can blend those gorgeous colours and it's fine. When we've got this thinner paper, we can't do this. So this is an experiment to see how we can use the watercolour pencils in a slightly different way. We know they work in scratching colour. We know we can scratch colour. There's 2 videos or more videos with here. This is Inktense pencil. This is a little bit of colour scratched, dry, blended with a rigger. This is done in exactly the same way. So we know we can get some really nice, soft watercolour effects by scratching a little bit of colour and then manipulating it with a damp brush. But these colours are not matched. This way we have to match the colour, so it's going to look very similar. And I'm not sure how to do that. So this is what the experiment's all about. So apologise for being late on my live stream today. Things get in the way with children and cars. Never used to take any notice of the car, but seeing as hubby is not allowed to drive at the moment. So the first thing I do, or I try to remember to do, is if I'm working in a book, I have these little post-its. And I take a post-it because they don't damage the pages. I've used these on my Bible to label the Bible pages. I put that behind there, and that tells me when I pick up this book, that I have pages to colour. So if you look at this one, all these pages here are to colour. They have been started, and these are finished. And as you can see, there's a lot more started than finished. And I've got one page started in this new book, the fairy book, which is the clover, the sweet clover girl. So there's one little tag here, and it gives you something. And the other thing is, you're not fiddling around, especially if you're doing a video, you're not, or live streaming, you're not kind of flipping about. I know that they are where these tags are. I may have to go back to this because it was so easy to match these colours, and it's completely flat because there's no water. But I wanted to play with the Derwent watercolour pencils, and as I think as a treat to myself, I'm thinking about buying the new set, and then I can compare them with the old set, because the colours will have been bettered, is a better word. They will be a better quality, they will be a higher grade, because of the nature of things getting better over the years, if that makes any difference. Manufacturing things are better. Having said that, I think these have lasted a very long time, and as I say, they were kicking about in pencil cases. They've not always been like this, whereas the new set will be. They're pretty robust. They're not like the pastel pencils that you have to kind of really look after. But if you drop them, they will break. Now there is one that I have dropped and I've broken, but I don't think it's fallen off yet. I thought it was a green one. And as you can see, I got a bit carried away because my hands were really poorly. It does hurt your hands if you've got arthritis. I had to do half and then well, a third, just a few, and then every day do a few more. So it's taken me nearly a few days to do this because it's anything with your hands is not easy. So if you get somebody else to do that, that's perfect. And any male would love the fact that they think they're turning wood and shaving wood. As a little boy, or me as a little girl, it's very much like when you have the sticks, and you were making arrows from sticks and twigs. It's that kind of feeling. So it's quite a nice therapeutic thing. It does unfortunately involve thumbs, so that was extremely difficult. So I've got number 50. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be working with the riggers because the riggers do not flood the page. So again, I'm pretty sure this is what I'm going to use. Although some of them are slightly bigger spaces, I may have to go to my bigger riggers. I think I may have to go back because again, although these are watercolours, you can go back in them. But remember, this is paper. So if it was watercolour, you could go straight back in them and play. Because it's paper, we have to let it dry overnight. And if you do that, and I know it's overnight, but if you do that, you can then go back in it and work it, and it's fine. But if you touch the page again within 24 hours, you do get a little bit of movement. And that's the nature of paper. So again, I may have to go for a bigger space. We'll see what happens. You get a feel for the riggers. And I've had these a few years, quite a few years, maybe 10 years, some of these. So I haven't gone out and just bought hundreds of riggers, and I buy them in sets. So they're a couple of pounds each. So if I see a set, and I actually now look at the end, I very rarely look here. I look at the end. I don't buy sable. I've actually had a play with these. This was actually done with my Series 7 sable, and I can't use them. Not with paper. So that was a bit of an upset because I love real nice paintbrushes, but I've got to the conclusion that I can't use them, so I don't need them. The riggers in sets of 3. So I've got a very fat set. This is Pro Art. So I used these. I think these are the biggest ones. The number 6, a 5 and a 3 in the Pro Art 103 England series. These are the biggest ones. So if I have a big space, I can get a very nice blend. Again, without much water, even though it's a big, long brush. Small spaces, I normally use the Daler Rowney riggers 1, 2 and 3, I think, and then I have a tiny liner, a Daler Rowney liner 10-0. They're for the smallest spaces. I ended up trapped, shall we say, in a model railway show and bought these, and I really like these, but the ends are just going a little bit, but I've used them a lot. And this is Atelier 5166, 5164 and 5161. So there's a 1, a 3 and a 310. And again, that's another nice fine set, but the big one will go quite a long way. So you can move it and have a nice space to get that watercolour effect with very little water. Another nice set, a little bit bigger, I have. This is the Daler Rowney Aquafine. and a 6, a 4 and a 2. And again, this is one of my favourites because it's quite a nice size. And all I do, I look in the shop and I look for a fat one, a medium one and a thin one. That's what I look for. So that's why the numbers are always different, because I never decide to choose those. This is a series. Oh, I use this one for brushing off. I wondered why I used that one when I do the other things. So in here I've got the other set that I really kind of like, and again this is for very small spaces that I want a really nice highlight. And this is the Art Master, and these are quite cheap, the Art Master Pearl Series 55, and they're not called a rigger, but they have a rigger quality. And I have a 0, a 2, a 0 and a 2 0, and again that's a fat, a thin and a medium. Oh, hi Nino, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else that's popping in? Sorry I was a bit late today. So that's another set. Again, I looked for a fat, a thin, a medium, and that's actually got a little bit damaged, that one, so I'll have to play with that to see if I can tease it back in. But again, that's a nice set, so it gets you a really nice space, and that's what you need. You need a tiny bit of colour, and you need to keep going, so you need all that dampness to get the full length, because they're very similar to the chameleon pens. This is how this system works. Once you start, you can't stop. You need to have that lovely action of going from dark to light in order to get a really nice watercolour effect. So if you look at all these sets, they're all in 3s. There's still not that many paintbrushes, but start with 3. Again, a fat one, a thin one and a medium one. That's all you really need. And again, I do like the Art Master. That's a very cheap one, but it's got a really nice fat long rigger on it, and that one's the 2-0, and it's the colour on the end and this dampness that causes this lovely watercolour effect that we're going to attempt in this book. So I really don't know which ones I'm going to use, so I shall leave them all out there for the minute and we'll have a practice. So we've got greens and pinks. Has anybody got any questions? Have a quick slurp of tea. I haven't had any breakfast this morning, so I'm a bit kind of frazzled around the edges, shall we say? Shall we say? A little bit frazzled around the edges. For some reason, the sound isn't that good today. I don't know why. It's on full, so hopefully that should be better. I don't know why it's not very loud. So this concertina, as I say, I think it was and I've numbered them, so I think it's number 50 was the nearest. Now I have mixed, and this is another thing that Colin Thompson did in his early video. He mixed the two colours together to get another colour. So although there's 72 in this set, you've got ranges of thousands of colours. So I was mixing the 50 and the 45 together. And the minty one, I think I was doing 42 and 49, and then I've got the 50. So we'll look to the greens. And I like them to have them here so I can pick them out and turn them over. So I have number 50 cedar green, which is here. I've got 45, which is on the other side, which is mineral green. And although these strips are very they're kind of unprotected now, a gentle scratch is all you need. 42 is a juniper, and again one of these is broken, so I've got to be a bit careful. It's not this one. Now the other way I might want to work from them is from my little book of colours. Oopsie. So here I have 52 juniper. So I know, again, I don't even have to look at these pencils. I can look here and I know I can get pale to dark. 45 is mineral green, so I know that's a kind of a greeny green. And then the 51 is, I think that's on this side. I don't know what possessed me to change the colours, I don't know. That's cedar green here. So before I even start, I can have a quick look to think what I think's nearest. So I can just use, as I say, I have been collecting for quite a long time, so I've got quite a lot of brushes. I've got beautiful watercolour brushes, the Isabelle ones, and there's Winsor & Newton, Designer Sable. I do have a lot of different ones. I've just found a series 11, Art Master. Again, they're a bit cheaper. There's the Cotman. I might use that one actually. That's normally quite a nice one. This is probably from a watercolour set. The Cotman is it's a rigger. No, I probably bought that one because it says rigger on it. I think I have. So there's lots and lots of fine ones. Again, the Art Master 55 series. I've progressed from these bigger brushes. It's taken a long time to get this system working. It has. It didn't happen overnight. So again, I might have to rethink how I colour. So this is just number 50, and put it on this paper here, and then see if we can match it up. So I think that looks quite nice. So if we take that to its palest, not sure if it becomes paler. So this is what you have to do. It's very tedious, it's not quick, it's not like the other, you pick a pencil, you like the colour and you go for it. This is colour matching. This is to make sure that you want to get as near as you can. Now of course you don't have to do this. So this is quite nice, this. So I think I could actually get away with just the 50. Might get away with just that number 50. So we can leave the 50 out and put the others away, even though I've actually got it on here. So you've got to then decide, are you going to scratch it onto here, or are you going to use it from a paper palette? And I think I may use it from a paper palette because you have more control. And this is why I use my little book here. I could use it from here and it would be fine. You get a lot more control by scratching the colour, and you would do that with any watercolour, water-based medium. The Inktense pencils, anything at all. So I'm going to put these two back and we'll look for the pink one next. And again, I like to put them in order, and I like to put them where I can read what they are. Just makes that a little bit easier. And normally I have the yellows on top. And I've taken them out. These are sleeves from the art bag. I've taken them out from... I'm drinking it, darling. I've taken it out from here. I I took my daughter's bag back from Christmas, so I've got my Inktense in there. And again, these haven't been sharpened, but there's one or two that I've sharpened with a blade, but most of them have not been sharpened, and I've had these a long time as well. There's just one or two that have been sharpened, but most of them haven't. So I find that instead of keeping, if I was on my own, I would keep them in here, but purely because it's easier when you're streaming, I have them at the side to flick. It's just that little bit easier. Whoopsie, sorry, old man having a cough. Oh dear. Are you okay? Let me just get the Alf Master bag. Alfie! What's this? Come and sit here with Mummy. Good boy. Come on. Come here. Come here. There's a good boy. Shut up. He has a little onesie under the bed. Good boy. Tuck up. Yeah, he's tucked all his paws up now. The little grumpy Dexter's in the way. In the way. Right, we now need a pink. So the easiest thing for me to do is to look through here. Now there's a carmine number 65. It's probably a little bit too purpley, but here we have a lot of reds. So it is a bit of a pinky red. Now number 15 is Geranium Lake, and I haven't actually, you can't see what it is, so I'm going to write Geranium Lake there. Excuse me if I can find a thin pen. I will write Geranium Lake. And that's easy for me because it means I can take number 15, Geranium Lake, and if I've used any, and you can see that it's a bit, where it's pale I've used it, I can just scribble over the top. And that's how I made these squares. 3 layers of scribble. So some have got a bit more use than others. Where it's shiny, it's full, and where it's dull, it's been used. So what we could do is we could put some Geranium Lake on here. And we'll have a bit of a play, so we need a damp brush. So all I'm doing again is dunking into my little ink well of water and then using a dried baby white. This is a dried baby, but when we come to watercolour I will be using a wet one. So we'll take this, and I'm using a different side now because we're doing pinks, so we've done our greens. So we take this pink and we're going to push it along the side here to see if it disappears. It's very, very close, and I think if it was a bit stronger, so I'll get more colour. It's the wrong red, so it's okay when it's paler, but it's the wrong red. So we need to go a bit pinkier. So there's a Rose Madder number 21. So we'll go for Rose Madder, which is number 21. And as I say, this is what takes the time, but this if you want to match your colours. So if you are drawing, or painting rather, or you can use these as the beauty of these watercolour pencils is you can use them as a coloured pencil as well. You don't have to water them. So you can match your colours. If you were drawing a picture of a plant or a flower, you can match the colour up. So I kind of like that. And you can either get it exact or you can think, well, that's near enough for me, I'm a happy girl. So I quite like that one. But it depends how you're going to work. So what we can either do is we can put a layer down. That's one layer. But I can't work with, I can on this sketchbook, I can work on this and get some more, make it a bit darker, get some more, make it darker. But I couldn't do that on this paper. So this is what we've sorted out the colours, we sorted out our tonal values. What we now have to sort out is how we're actually going to get this colour onto this thin, it's not very thin paper, it's thicker, it's probably like thick photocopy paper, but it's not sketchbook watercolour based paper that's going to take that. So we can do two things. If we have a drawing of a leaf and the drawing of a pencil, of a petal, which actually are very similar in shape, we can do different things. Now, how I normally work is scratch a bit of colour in. Oopsie, my hand. And this is a rigger. You scratch the colour in and manipulate it, and this will go to a very pale colour at the end. So that's how I normally work. The same with this one. You manipulate that colour round. That was a bit too wet actually. But I thought we might work in a different way. Is to take this colour and fill in a flower petal. Like you would normally, but we've got to be very careful with our amount of water. So the easiest way is to scratch a bit of colour and then do that, but we're going to see if we can work a different way. And then if you want a really, really dark space, a dark tone, you take the brush and you very carefully touch the end. These are very vibrant if you touch the end. This must be a different colour. And you can go back in and work. So there's lots of ways to work from this paper palette. Kind of, it was the wrong red. This was the red that I wanted. This is Rose Madder. So I think, and of course Rose Madder is quite an old colour. So I think possibly Rose Madder would have been the colour that would have been used. So we can build this colour up. You just have to be very careful that we don't. I still think working got to build the colour up like that. And as I say, this is the fiddly, faffy. This is the kind of the like the Hagrid page. 8 hours it took me to do that page. So it depends on what you want. You could just pick a pink and go for it, and that's fine. I'm just having a think. I might actually use them as a dry pencil. I never thought of that. So we have a pink Madder Lake. So let me just have another play with this. Take the Rose Madder. Now that might be even something else to think about, is to take this colour. I've never blended pencil, mind you. I don't think I could. That's the other thing I was just thinking. Maybe that was not a good idea. I did find I did actually find. I knew I'd bought lots of things. I did actually come across Derwent do a blending. They do a blender pencil and they do a buffing pencil as well. So I must have the other one somewhere because they come in a set. So, but let me have a look. I think this is just for pastels, this one, but we'll have a go. See if we can blend them together. Oh, that looks quite nice, that. So I've never actually used these as a pencil. I've always used them as and then if we had the white as well, so we could take the white out there, and it's the flesh pink I think I broke. Did I? No, I didn't. So we've got a flesh pink, a white, so you see if we can blend that from one to the other. Well, that's quite interesting. Now, I would find it rather difficult because of my hands, but we could definitely do one. Now, that's quite dark, is that one? I might actually think about doing this. Not sure how my hands would kind of. So that goes down there. Yeah. The problem I have is holding the pencil. So that's the pink Madder Lake. And that was Alfie under the. So this is. Yes, I've got. That's me done now. That's me done now. actually blending it. Oh, blending it. So let's have a little, oops, look at this. See if we can do this. I actually meant to do the practice at the back, so I've made a mistake because I was going to do the back and I forgot. At the back of this book is a practice page, and I should have used that first. So this works really well. I kind of like this. So it's a pinkier colour. So I do quite like that, but the problem is it's not the same pink, and my hand is killing me now. So, but I never thought about using these, and I've always thought you could as ordinary pencils. So if you want a set of pencils and a set of watercolours, this is the set to get. So what I'm going to do with this, as I say, I've made a boo-boo because I never plan what I'm doing, so I need a bigger one for that one. So I'll have that set out. I wonder if that would do that one. I don't think it would. And I don't know where the other black one is. The plain black one is there. That needs to go away because they're not riggers. And then I will have my Art Masters for the Dale Rowney ones, I mean, for that one. So I want that one. And that one. So we want 1, 2 and 3, and the little tiny number 10, 0 for the tiny spaces. Right. So the rest of these can go away safe. So I'll zoom in, and again, I've got 2 colours. You've got to find the others. So you can use the blender. You can use the blender, the Derwent blender, with the watercolours, the Derwent watercolours, and you can blend with them as an ordinary pencil. So I'm going to stop the video there because that's something completely different than I wanted to do. And in the next part I will be using them as a watercolour. So thank you for watching.